What if we told you that Easy the Block Captain doesn't terminate the most startling hip-hop love triangle? And Papoose doesn't start it. A now viral interview claims that Remy Ma dated Fat Joe before she even met Papoose, which has the internet rewatching old Terror Squad videos and switching roles. All came crashing down when Claressa Shields, the Gwot herself, promoted a boxing bout. Clarissa's response to the host's question concerning Remy's background was straightforward. You know she was with Joe before Papoose, right? That isn't news to us, it's news to you all. Hold up, come again. They hoped that by analyzing old lyrics, analyzing awards, show body language, and screening backstage videos from 2005. Like it's the Zapruder film, we would neglect it. However, you will never view Lean Back the same way after hearing what Claressa really disclosed. Let's not pretend that Claressa Shields dropped some arbitrary rumors. Instead, she triggered a ticking time bomb from the business that had been hidden under hashtags for Black Love and mixtape prison bids years prior. We have been watching the wrong love story the entire time if what she said is accurate, which is that Remy Ma was with Fat Joe before Papoose. Fat Joe, whose real name was Joseph Cartagena, claimed to have kept things together, but not in the manner that the public at the time thought. Fat Joe was a godfather to Terror Squad, which was more than just a rap group. Remaining in the studio night after night, he encouraged her to go to the front lines, hyped her up on songs, and gave her what seemed to be the largest brotherly cosign in Bronx history. But now, according to reports, it was more than simply music. The connection between Joe and Remy was complex from the start, according to a former Terror Squad assistant who worked in their management office from 2002 to 2006, even off camera. And when sessions lasted longer than 200 minutes, he referred to her as Ma, while she called him Joey. This is where things become complicated. But no one inquired why she was still there. This week, a 2005 archive video was uncovered that shows Joe embracing Remy following a performance. Aside from the fact that you hear Joe mention something that fans had never heard before, nothing out of the ordinary. This time, we will get it right? How did that happen? How did they hope to get it right? And why hasn't anyone ever inquired? It wasn't merely a casual flirtation or a case of industry chemistry. It was personal and emotional, and it has been surreptitious, being silent, establishing himself as the hip-hop peacemaker, the entrepreneur, the person who made Big Pun famous, and subsequently standing by Remy when no one else would all benefited. Joe. This is the point at which Claressa's interview transforms. This from a rumor into a scandal, so set the scene with guilt or something more romantic. When questioned about Remy and Papoose's ongoing conflict in a late-night podcast interview, Claressa smirked as if she knew something rather than responding superficially. But to the rest of us, it's a real-time rewriting of Remy Ma's legacy. Because Papoose, the man who married her while she was incarcerated, held her down for 6 years and reintroduced her as a symbol of devoted Black love. Then she said, "I was with Joe before Papoose," which may not be news to them. Here was the cover, not the first or even the beginning, and insiders are starting to speak up. We assumed it was merely for safety after a show in Atlanta in 2004. Nobody questioned it at the time. However, the plot changes in light of this new background. Reportedly, Remy and Joe were seen jet skiing together, going AWOL for hours at a time, and having dinner alone at the resort's private beach during a 2003 Terror Squad trip to Puerto Rico. The trip was advertised as a music retreat. Nevertheless, their affair was not kept a secret because it is said that certain crew members voiced worries about the connection and its possible impact on the company. An executive and Fat Joe got into a fight, according to one source. A verified hip-hop blogger said in a since-deleted tweet that voice notes from Fat Joe were found on an old iPod from Remy's pre-prison days. Where there is smoke in hip-hop, there is nearly always a full fire with receipts. So even though no recordings have leaked yet, the internet is keeping a careful eye on the situation. Fans have also joined the hunt, with Reddit threads exploding. with old music videos frame by frame seeking touches, looks, or anything that appears too personal. Viewers focused on one snippet from the Lean Back remix. They whisper and laugh off mic before the beat drops, which is brief and innocent if you didn't know any better. However, as the intensity increases, it becomes evident that the timeline we've been given for so long is false. If Remy Ma and Fat Joe did, in fact, have a romantic relationship, even if it was brief, it implies that Fat Joe may have buried a personal history for the sake of his reputation, business, and brotherhood. That Papoose may have fallen in love with someone who is still emotionally attached to another man. And that there is a secret prelude to Remy Ma's redemption arc that they hoped would never be revealed. Claressa's words on that podcast were, "Only the beginning of this story, which is now available and only just getting started," by casually claiming that Remy Ma was with Fat Joe before Papoose. Claressa Shields not only revealed a small bit of the truth, but she completely revealed the industry's best-kept secret. Inquiring as to her seriousness, the interviewer blinked and stammered. The next 10 minutes of the now real interview, which has since been clipped, uploaded, re-uploaded, and snatched down again like digital contraband, were captured on camera. Claressa didn't even bat an eye, saying, "People in their circle know I haven't got time to lie." Papoose was aware of this, but he didn't think it had mattered until now. Stated that Remy and Joe were at odds. They would be on set and not even exchange glances, acting as though they had a past that they pretended never existed. When Remy and Papoose reaffirmed their vows, she said that Joe was the only person who didn't post anything. Now, what do, individuals hurried to verify, and indeed. On the day of Remy Ma and Papoose's public vow renewal ceremony in 2022, Fat Joe shared a photo of sneakers. Claressa was not done, however, as she stated that a particular instance occurred in 2015. A private party following a bet recording, where when she heard Fat Joe pull Remy aside, he said, "If you ever want it again, you know where I stand." Claressa didn't say whether Remy responded, but she vowed that Remy didn't leave immediately, and that line, "If you ever wanted it again," hit the internet like a bullet. Within 48 hours, phony insiders started to surface. Some were clearly chasing influence, but some fell to the ground. In the video that one user retrieved from that particular bet event, Joe and Remy are indeed seen conversing in the corner. It would be impossible to overlook an anonymous post from a former Terror Squad road manager who stated that Remy was exclusively riding in Joe's SUV in 2004 and had special hotel reservations. According to him, their rooms were often next door, and sometimes, for some reason, only one room was required. Listen, you and I both know that rumors spread quickly in our field, but they aren't based on a single allegation. Rather, they are based on a pattern of behavior that, when combined, paints a story that no one wanted to hear. Now, let's discuss the responses from the public. Not only were fans startled, but many were incensed that the same Remy, who presented herself as a representation of openness and genuineness, could have had a love triangle complicated by layers of denial, history, while presenting himself as the conduit between artists and for Papoose, the guy who stood by Remy during her conviction, her release from prison, and public scrutiny, only to be viewed as the second chapter of a book she had started with someone else. Another tweet said, "Papoose was doing jail visits while Joe was having flashbacks. Leaning back was never about dancing, but rather about dodging questioning." And it didn't help that Fat Joe was utterly silent, no response. No denial, nothing, while Remy Ma, who usually claps back in zero. After 2 seconds, everything went dark, with no stories or tweets, and then the conspiracy ideas started to spread. Claressa may have purposefully disclosed the information as retaliation for a previous disagreement she had with Remy. The effect could not be reversed. Some of the older video interviews started making the rounds. such as one from 2017 where Remy Ma was questioned directly if she and Fat Joe had ever been romantically involved. Experts in body language noted her frantic blinking and abrupt lip push, glancing sideways as she chuckled and replied, "People are so disrespectful." "That's my brother." Did she have a secret, or was she just nervous about being asked a silly question? Now, that question has more weight. Then, 3 days after Claressa's interview went viral, the audio appeared and a secret SoundCloud link began circulating in Discord forums and group conversations. There are roughly 28 seconds in the clip. The voice seemed familiar and the timing was too good for the internet to care. Not to mention the visual proof that has been discovered. A 2005 magazine photo from the past depicts Joe and Remy seated alongside one another, holding hands. They seemed much more affectionate than label mates. The photographer, who was just interviewed by a prominent hip-hop blog, affirmed. As the barriers were closing, more ex-affiliates started to come forward. According to a DJ who toured with Terror Squad, "Look, we didn't inquire, but everyone knew something was happening." Joe was ultimately the issue remains. Was Papoose the distraction, or worse, the rebound? In the event that Remy and Joe had a past and it had not ended prior to a relationship with Papoose, what sort of romantic triangle were we witnessing for the past 15 years without even being aware of it? As the controversy grew, fans begged for clarification and bloggers referred to it as the most startling disclosure since the Cardi-Nicki DM leaks. The collaborative songs by Fat Joe and Remy were subtly taken off of Spotify playlists with a Black Love theme. When questioned about whether she regrets what she said, Claressa is refusing to back down. This was not just tea. It was a full-blown identity crisis in hip-hop relationships. The fact that she said those 3 words, no explanation, no cleanup made everything 10 times worse, because if she hadn't lied, all we know about Remy Ma, Fat Joe, and Papoose would have been destroyed. We've been sold the ride-or-die black love dream of Remy Ma and Papoose for years. But if Claressa's shields weren't lying, it would have crashed like a trophy placed on concrete. Everyone's silence after the interview finished has been more powerful than any diss track, and a Category 5 emotional cyclone is hidden beneath that stillness. The first is Papoose. An individual close to his group said that Papoose was already suspicious before Claressa ever spoke. He had been sleeping in the studio and was not spending as much time at the family home. The supporters think they know why the flame vanished when the interview started making the rounds. Papoose's attitude shifted. "You've never witnessed a man handle tragedy in real time like that," the source said. "He didn't explode. He just froze." In a matter of hours, that tweet alone garnered 1 million impressions. Next followed the succinct, cryptic, yet sharp tweets that read, "The worst pain doesn't come from enemies. She informed me that he was simply family." The story suddenly changed, and instead of being merely interested, individuals were absorbed in heartbreaking, shocked, and betrayed comment sections. "This man held her down through prison, and this is what he gets," said another fan. Remy Ma also removed every Instagram post she had made on the day that Papoose's tweets went viral. There was no notice, but nothing was lost either. Her most recent freestyle post was deleted, along with any family pictures, birthday greetings, or pictures of black love. Fans questioned whether this was a publicity stunt, a virtual manifestation of a complete identity breakdown, or something else entirely. Fat Joe, Mr. I Got Nothing to Hide, went dark too. His media team went silent, his scheduled Instagram live was canceled, and the sneaker post he uploaded on the day. Remy and Papoose renewed their vows in 2022 was erased and now subtly scrubbed, as if someone had gone back in time and started rewriting receipts, collecting previous interviews, award shows, and even specials about the Terror Squad reunion. People are trembling over a particular clip. In a 2016 interview, Papoose is sitting next to Remy, celebrating her return, when Fat Joe interrupts and says, "You're lucky I let her go." Everyone laughed, including Papoose. But now that line is being scrutinized like an autopsy. Was it a joke, or was Joe inadvertently confirming what Claressa just disclosed? As if that weren't enough, a fresh anonymous leak purportedly showed a screenshot of a 2004 text message from Fat Joe to Remy that said, "I hate seeing you around these clowns. You know I'm the only one that ever understood you." The celebrity gossip page hasn't confirmed the authenticity of the leak, but there have been whispers of a huge PR disaster behind closed doors. Speaking anonymously, one record label representative stated, "They're panicking. Brands are freezing deals, streaming platforms are watching engagement numbers, and everyone's trying to figure out what Remy's next move is, if there even is one." Speaking of next moves, the most bizarre development of all is that an unknown individual leaked audio that was allegedly recorded just days prior to Claressa's interview. The video contains a lady believed to be Claressa saying to another person she was supposed to come clean. She said she would, "I just beat her to it." This is true. Remy was aware that the secret was being revealed, and perhaps even why. Didn't she tell it herself? She agreed. Others assert that she was trying to protect her son, while others assert that he has been consulting with lawyers to manage his public image, especially if further information becomes available, rather than to file for divorce. Remember the ancient iPod we discussed in the first section? Some people said it had voice notes from Fat Joe on it. Now, a well-known hip-hop documentarian owns that gadget and has already reached out to streaming services about producing a limited series called Before Black Love, which promises voice recordings, old emails, never-before-seen images, and unknown. There is a split among fans, with some stating it was before Papoose let it go, and others are calling for transparency. They want a statement, an explanation, and closure. But what would that even look like? A press conference, a dual interview, a documentary bombshell, whatever it is. It better come soon because the pressure is mounting. Fans will continue to remember what Claressa said, and she is still tweeting. Last night, she posted a mysterious line that was never about power, but rather about clarity. Now, we ask, did Fat Joe and Remy Ma have a secret relationship that lasted longer than we thought? Was Papoose just the final chapter in a book Joe started writing? What does Remy say when the microphone finally comes back around? Or is this just old history coming to light? Or is this the truth that has been buried under plaques, loyalty slogans, and red carpet smiles? Because if Papoose was caught off guard after holding her down for years, then we're not just witnessing a scandal, but the breakdown of hip-hop's most trusted love story. Stay locked in this story, which is far from over. It's a fairy tale, while the real love triangle played out backstage. If you have any thoughts, please share them in the comments section below. Was Papoose just a backup plan to Joe Cross Street, or was Remy stuck between the only two men who ever really knew her? We're only one leak away from everything changing again. And you'll hear it here first, because in a world full of cover-ups, receipts speak louder than reputations.